Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, no Ingarangi, te whenua, no Northeast, aho, no Newcastle, aho, ko Southwell, te whānau, ko Giles, toko ingoa, kanui, te mihi, kia toto, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. As you can tell by my broad Geordie accent, I'm from Newcastle in England. I actually grew up in Cambridge. And I'm the General Manager, Digital and Workspace at Waka Kotahi, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here to talk about the work that we're doing in horizontal infrastructure data standards. Before I do, I just thought I'd reflect a couple of things on Thomas's presentation, which we did discuss last week by the ubiquitous Teams, I think it was we used. Call to make sure that we were complementary, which I think we fit quite nicely together in terms of the presentations we're giving. The thing that struck me about Thomas's presentation is, A, I agree with virtually every single word he said, but also the whole COVID thing, which I wasn't intending to cover because I think everybody talks about COVID far too much. It's the only thing, but I will just make a couple of observations, is how would we have survived this even 12 months ago? 18 months ago, 2 years ago. I still feel connected with my family in the UK through the great things of WhatsApp. The one thing I'm missing is obviously holidays, and I'm really encouraged obviously by the opportunity for virtual reality to provide us with opportunities to take our holidays without maybe leaving our home. I did take my wife at the weekends to go and see a film called Made in Italy to try and cheer us up because we were supposed to be spending September in that wonderful country. It didn't cheer us up, by the way. I also told my sister-in-law in Birmingham just this morning, literally 10 minutes before I came on stage, that I was just about to go on stage and talk about horizontal data standards. Her only message back was, WTF. But now, so just really want to talk about the work that we're doing in relation to an asset management data standard on behalf of and with the land transport sector and many other partners. Technological advances are occurring rapidly in the land transport sector, as I'm sure you all know, and they increasingly disrupt the way in which we use and manage the system and provide us with real opportunities for improvement. Access to technology and data is increasing, as are customer expectations, and we should never forget that. They expect transport to be tailored to their needs. New Zealand has 3.8 million mobile phones, I am going to quote some numbers, with active internet connections in 2017, up from 3 million in 2014, which is an increase, for those of you that are mathematically minded, which is probably most of you, of just under 30%. Over the next 10 years, there's expected to be a massive growth in data, as we all know. That exponential growth in processing power and storage will achieve that. So that will be generated by and used in the transport sector in ways that we can only imagine at the moment. And this is going to occur especially as the cost of the technology, and in particular the sensors that's needed, will come down, and smartphones will come down in cost as well. New products and business models are being created from the conversion of emerging and existing technologies, powered by the vast amounts of data that those things are generating. Concepts such as big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all the things that many of you in the audience will be very familiar with, are already part of those technological changes. They are transforming how we interact with and manage our technology. They are also enabling systems to improve over time and providing us with new ways of thinking about problems. I was amazed to hear already we're talking about 6G. We haven't even got 5G, and in some parts of New Zealand, we're lucky to get any internet coverage at all. It will be increasingly possible to create fully detailed, data-rich virtual models of everything. Everything that we survey, conceive, design, and deliver in the land transport system, also referred to colloquially as digital twins. We expect digital engineering to drive huge efficiency gains through enabling smart cities, real-time asset and network management, end-to-end digital lifecycle management, and resource optimization. There are huge opportunities out there. So how are we going to achieve that? Well, digital engineering, it's a very broad phrase. Digital engineering is much more than a software package, as I say, I'm sure you're all aware. Digital engineering helps design engineers in their decision-making. The UK, we always refer to the UK, don't we? Can't we find another comparator? The UK's National Infrastructure Commission estimates that projects can save between 0.7 and 1.4% of their total capital expenditure across the design, build, and commission and handover phases. and between 1.5 and 3% of their whole of life expenditure. Now, given the amounts that we invest in these kind of things, those are not insignificant sums, particularly in the context of the economic climate that we currently face. But that does require a technology environment that spans multiple systems, processes, and organisations, as Thomas alluded to. A core concept within digital engineering for transport is therefore standardisation. And that's where the work that we're doing in terms of an asset management data standard come in. Standards provide a reliable basis for people to share the same expectations about a product, a process, a service, and they are a prerequisite for interoperability. Virtually all modern technology depends on standards in order for them to function. Can we imagine search engines such as Google? I believe there are others. How would they work if they weren't using standards to direct their users to other websites? They need consistent data exchange rules. Email between Outlook and Gmail would not be possible without data standards for mail transfer. All forms of electronic payment. Who in this room ever carries cash anymore? All forms of electronic payment, including credit card, debit cards, etc., rely on standardised authorisation and settlement processes. Standards have contributed to economic growth at least as much as patents, according to the UK. A 2015 study calculated that over 1/3 of labour productivity growth in the UK economy between 1921 and 2013 is attributed to standards, which basically translates into approximately just under 30% of annual GDP growth. That is an amazing statistic as far as I'm concerned. So each year, Waka Kotahi, which I have the privilege of being general manager in, invests over $3 billion in building and $3 billion in maintaining transport assets. This figure is also matched by the road controlling authorities and local authorities who match this spend on their local roads. So we are talking significant amounts of money. However cutting edge our construction and maintenance technology has become, the data about our assets has not kept up. Across the sector, we lack complete, accurate and consistent data, meaning that we don't know if we're making the most of the taxpayers' and ratepayers' money, something that we at Waka Kotahi firmly believe it should be a key priority. The asset management data standard work that we're doing, that I'm pleased to be the sponsor of, provides principles, guidance, structures and definitions to enable us to build a national view of our assets across the asset life cycle. This will enable evidence-based investment to get maximum bang for buck across the whole supply chain. Starting with maintenance operations, which constitutes about 90% of the spend on the asset over the life, NZTA is leading the development of a thoroughly modern data standard, comprising of the standard, a handbook to guide the application of the standard to individual assets, and a set of technical specifications for both the assets and the activities and processes that act on them. At an indicative level, economic models based on international experience from the UK show benefits and savings are likely to be in the order of $70 million per annum for the asset management data standard alone. Full implementation of digital engineering for transport would be estimated to deliver significantly more benefits, but upwards of $120 million per annum. And given the financial pressures that the public purse and many others are under, those are targets that are worth chasing, particularly as the cost of implementation we currently estimate as somewhere in the order of $45 million. So you can see an immediate and huge payback if we adopt the standard and implement it effectively across the sector. So why should we do that now? What's the burning, what's the environment that encourages us to have started this work some time ago? We're working with very strong partnerships with the Road Efficiency Group and with local government New Zealand, and we're very proud to be working with them on behalf of the land transport sector. And the government has also told us to harness technology and to collaborate across sectors to improve investment efficiency. Again, something that Thomas was talking about. The government policy statement on transport seeks to deliver the right infrastructure at best cost to achieve value for money. Think about the upgrade program that we're currently investing $6 billion in that was announced just under 12 months ago. Treasury's National Infrastructure Plan seeks to develop a national shared open data standard for infrastructure. We believe we have a key part to play in developing that. And Infrastructure's New Zealand Unlocking the Value of Data calls for national infrastructure digital twin, something that I think we should aspire to as a country and is certainly attainable. The data modelling approach that we're using provides us with the ability to overcome the limitations of hierarchical or simple relational models so that data can be simpler and less repetitive, more flexible and extendable, more easily harmonised with other standards and other sectors. And we're working quite closely with the water sector because we're looking at horizontal data standards, and water is clearly a key part of that. We can interface with other horizontal infrastructure partners. I've mentioned Three Waters, rail, which obviously Waka Kotahi has a key role in, as well as the regulator, other utilities, etc. This means that we can get a New Zealand-wide standard infrastructure view and even support work towards that national digital twin, which should be our aspiration. We're leading this work on behalf of the sector, but we certainly don't want to do it alone, and we're very keen to speak and engage with partners across New Zealand. We do have a project plan. We did an indicative business case that was approved earlier this year, and at that point the sponsorship of the programme moved from our Transport Services Directorate into my own area, which is Digital and Workspace, so that we can lead the development of the standard, working very closely with our colleagues across the organisation, but also across the wider sector. We're releasing prototypes or phases of the standard for testing and for consultation across the 12 months that we're currently in through to about July next year. The assets in the first release were selected to demonstrate the ontological model. We picked some fairly common asset classes to do that with so that we could demonstrate and test the process that we were using. The current release has new thinking on location, environment, and zones. Zones is all about areas or polygons that overlay physical assets and are impacted by controls. The next release will tackle structures and the crossover with the water and geotech capabilities. Once we've tested the 4 releases over the 12 months, we will release version 1 of the standard in earnest or in anger, which we hope and anticipate will be in July next year or very soon after. We're working with a range of partners across the organisation, across the country, and a range of experts. Local government, suppliers of asset management systems. We're trying to design a standard that is system agnostic, so that actually it can be used as the technology and systems are replaced and upgraded across organisations. We're working with major contractors who obviously work as suppliers in our own field of asset construction and maintenance. Working with the Three Waters Standard Development Team, we're working with government agencies who have a relevant interest in this, such as LINZ, DIA, MB, and Stats New Zealand. We're working with other public sector owners, and we're working with interest groups, both within New Zealand and internationally. Recently, just last week, we had a video conference call with Transport for New South Wales, who are doing some very interesting work in digital engineering, as I'm sure many of you are aware. The process is certainly not over. We are doing this on behalf of the sector. We want to do it with the sector, and we want to make sure that when the standard is released, it's owned by the sector, and we will act as the steward or guardian of the sector on behalf of the land transport system. So we're pretty excited. I will explain to my sister-in-law what it's about. So yeah, I'm very pleased to be here. I think it's a great opportunity to talk about the work that we're doing and the potential that it has. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, katoa.